I think one of the people that benefit the most from this trade, to be honest with you, I do think is Luka.
Wow.
I think that I'm going to try to explain this properly. I think the way the Dodgers have been built, it has been done in so many different ways. Like, I think if we just say that, well, they're just throwing money at everybody, they are doing that. But I also think they are looking for bargains. They're working on the farm system. They went out and got Andrew Friedman, who was probably the brightest mind in baseball coming from a smaller market. They also were very strategic with a lot of small things. I don't feel like they cut any corners. But I think Luka, 26 years old, is walking into a franchise with new ownership that does have deep pockets, that does, I think, will pay attention to detail, that doesn't have a salary cap when it comes to your front office and coaching. You could spend as much money as you want there, scouting, all that stuff where I think the Lakers have, I don't think I've done as good of a job from that perspective. I think Luka will benefit. I think Luka, he had a tweet, and in his tweet, he was congratulating new ownership and this and that. But I thought he said something, and I'm going to try to read it here. I'm going to see if I can find it here real quick, Ryan. But he had said something in the post that he put, thanking the Buss family, looking forward to working with new ownership. I look forward to working with both of them to win championships. Didn't say championship. Didn't say getting our first championship together. Went for championships. I think that that partnership, that's going to be the start of a very unique partnership in my opinion. And I think, however they can, put a winning product together, they're going to do everything they can to put together a winning product.
Well, you got to think too, the ownership, and we just call it for what it is. The new ownership in Dallas didn't go over well with him. This is rare. He's got not two new teams or two new coaches, like two new owners, which is a big, big change. I had that in Charlotte when Michael Jordan took over for Bob Johnson. I was a part of that, and things do change. The way you fly, the way you eat, certain policy, like a lot of little things change. The mentality. And for Luca, it did not go well in Dallas. Let's just call it for what it is. So hopefully maybe there's that kind of like that moving fear behind it. And, things could go one of two ways. And you mentioned it for Luca or LeBron, where ownership could have made the move and said, we bought this team based on you, LeBron. Or, well, we bought this team based on moving forward from you. And sometimes people don't understand. You got basketball. Let's break down a little front office work. You got basketball owners who know the game, and then you got businessmen. A lot of basketball minds, the best businessmen. The best businessmen sometimes step in and say, run it like a business. I got charts and graphs and analytics that say win and make me money. And they don't understand any language outside of that. Now, the Buss family understood championships and players and relationships. Those relationships aren't always the same, and they see it as an investment. They want their what? They want their ROI, return on investment. So it's going to be extremely unique to see how that process ends up being taken forward. And they could say, Luca, well, we paid based on you. We did this based on you, and see either if he's empowered in the situation, or there's a little fire lit under him that says, well, you got to prove it to us. We like you and everything, but you got to prove us. Don't get comfortable. We saw what went on in Dallas. So I'm intrigued, and I only throw that out, not that I know any information, but I just know there's different ideologies that people don't understand, the mentality that goes in, because somebody's been sitting back. They've been watching. I don't know, safely assume, right? They've been watching Lakers for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go, we do this, we do this, we do this. Okay, it's lucrative. It's this. Like there's a process before they made that type of an investment, and there's a mindset that they're going to go in with. And I'm intrigued to see the type of ownership that we'll see.
Yeah. By the way, I like the, what you were saying about how business has been done. I was born in '82, right? So all I know is the Buss family owning the Lakers. I don't know anything else. And clearly watching the way they did business, and it is no question about it. I think sometimes to their strength, sometimes to their weakness, it's a family-run business. And I think you pointing that out is 100% true. I don't look at the Dodgers and say, "Hey, this is a family-run business." No, I
Mm,
look at it. I look at it as I've made these comps a lot. It's a Fortune 500 company that wakes up every single morning. The suits come on. They all show up to work. I mean, I'm simplifying it here,
for sure,
but
for sure.
it's just not run like a family. It's not run like a family-owned business. And I think for the Lakers, I think there's a couple ways to look at it. I love what you said. If we go back, the Kobe one isn't a good example because I think that was somebody who's in year 19 and year 20. He'd been with the franchise for 20 years. Let's put that to the side. But I guess what I'm saying is here, does new ownership look at certain predicaments and say, well, you did so well for us in the past. We're going to take care of you for that, even though we know these numbers don't make sense for the future. That's not what Fortune 500 companies do. That's not what corporations do. They don't. They look at, what have you done for me lately? I don't care what you did for me in the past. I need to know what you're going to do for me moving forward from this point on. So I just use that as an example because I think when you say, it will be run different and it is not a family owned business and it is going to be a results driven business. I still think that for the Lakers, I do think they're so behind on so many little things that I think the fact that they'll just kind of get back to speed of where the rest of the league is, whether that's drafting and developing. And I can't say finding gems because you know what, Austin Reeves and Alex Caruso, you can look at, they've definitely found some gems in the process, but it's going to be different. The Lakers, as we've known them in the past, will no longer be known that way.
Let's call it for what it was. Kobe Bryant's extended contracts were not a smart business move.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't. A guy at his age with his
Or, or,
injury
or,
history.
or, or Ryan, is the right way to say it? It wasn't a smart basketball move, but it was business related.
Yeah,
They could still
yeah.
sell
It does
tickets
it.
and
Yeah, there you go. The relationship was intact. Obviously, you could sell tickets, and from us and the basketball peers, make no mistake, that's the right thing. Kobe, you've done enough for us. We're
mm-hmm,
signing you to max contracts, and we're gonna lock you in for as long as you want to be here, and you can
mm-hmm.
go because his production and the winning, wasn't worth that money, and at the age. But at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do. It is Kobe Bryant. He's arguably the greatest player to have ever played the game. I bring that up to say the right analytics move from a basketball sense would be to move forward from LeBron James at his age. It's such a roll of the dice. Now, business wise, he's extremely lucrative. He makes money. He's getting you national exposure. There's so much that comes with LeBron and his brand and what he's going to mean to your organization moving forward. But from the actual basketball sense and age and
Sure.
how much longer you can get that productivity, and if you can compete for a championship at his age and the factors that go into it, the right move would be to say, move forward, find another suitor, and those things have been thrown out. So I'm intrigued to see what side they're on. I'm a firm believer, Alan, and just so we're clear that what we're saying, that was the greatest move to keep Kobe Bryant on and let him have a
Sure.
storybook movie ending. And I believe the same soul LeBron James beyond deserves that. And I hope that we see that. But when you start crunching those numbers, depending on what side they're on, there is a chance that someone could view that a different way, and I would hope not.
Yeah, I think the what makes LeBron so unique is he's such a corporation in himself that
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
I think
yeah.
if I don't know if this is the best example, but I'm gonna throw an example. If you said Al Horford was on this team and you said that, hey, this just his production doesn't make any sense anymore at this age. And he's also not going to be selling us tickets. People are not coming to come see Al Horford. Just
Yeah,
using
yeah,
that
yeah,
as a comp as an
for
example.
sure.
LeBron, it's like whatever money you throw at him, he's still underpaid. And maybe that corporation is basically saying, we're going to take advantage of this until it's completely done because we know it can't last forever.
For sure.
Could be as simple as that. I'm curious as I kind of, and I want to hit on some other NBA topics, but I'm curious from your perspective and how long you were in the league. What, for maybe more of a casual fan out there, or maybe somebody that just, they're not paying attention to front offices and ownership. They're just paying attention to what the product is on the floor. in the big scheme of things, how imperative is the right ownership, the balance of wanting to win and make a profit. It's not just, too balanced one way or the other. Just how imperative is it to have the right ownership?
Ownership stands. It's 100% of the solution, or 100% of the problem. The reason I say it's a long term reasoning. Um, if you're not knowledgeable, you have to get out of the way is ownership. So, in a lot of times, the owners, they are the final say. No matter what you say, they are the final say. They've empowered the president or the general manager or the coach to make the plays that they make. And what happens is when the owners get too involved, you can feel it because some of those things are personal. Some of those things aren't, necessarily basketball moves, or maybe not even necessarily business moves, so to speak. So I'll give you the example of Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban was not a basketball guy when he took over for the Mavericks. He was a fan, and he
Hmm.
had a true passion for the game. Mark Cuban, in order for the Mavericks to be successful and for him to be as hands on as he was, he learned the game of basketball. He studied it like business. He founded Synergy Sports. He looked to get any advantage that he could get in the game of basketball, and what he ended up doing is he grew the Mavericks to a spot where they could be NBA champions. And you saw the work that Mark put in. Now there's certain owners that also step back. Hey, San Antonio, their ownership steps back and lets RC and Pop run the show, and
Mm.
they were able to be successful. The synergy within an organization is also important. Look at the Denver Nuggets. You had coach on one end, and I don't know anything. I'm speaking outside of what just we've heard. I'm not pointing fingers. I don't know. I don't have any previous information. But the president, the ownership said, well, we can, or the president said, hey, well, coaches on one side, GMs on one side, but we'll fire both, But someone empowered them to be their different beliefs. Everybody's got to work on one accord. You can't have multiple chiefs and not enough Indians. There's a hierarchy, and just simply putting it short, ownership needs to be able to step back. Now, maybe there's something that I don't know wrong, or maybe I'm not privy to certain conversations, or who's this person's guy or that person's guy. But even the firing of Tibbs and then not having like a B plan, to me, that was
Sure.
someone making an emotional decision. I don't know if ultimately that was Dolan. I can't speak to that, but you did not see synergy within the organization within that when that move happened. So those are little examples of good and the bad.
All right, thank you very much for watching the clip. Just want to give a shout out here to one of our partners, the Wallace Firm. They are official injury attorney of the Sliwa Show and Hoops Talk, the entire channel. If you are ever in a need, and I hope you're not, but some type of serious injury with yourself or a family member of yours, I would like to personally help you by introducing you to the best in the business, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Also got a URL out here that you can use as well. Just go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you for their partnership, and thank you for being a part of the Sliwa Show.